Today we're off on a train adventure in Skagway, and it should be pretty much fun. We're going to be doing the train and having a great meal and panning for gold. Here we are at the Ruby Princes, and we're going to be on a bus and a train. Now the train is over 100 years old, and I've been on trains over 100 years before. However, this one is in Alaska, and that's definitely different. At least it is different for me. I've been looking forward to that, of course. There's a definite vibe about Skagway. It's got a lot of different stores, but it's definitely more rural, of course. A lot of interesting buildings. Now we're leaving the downtown area, and obviously it's their version of a suburb, passing by a park. Going to pass by the Skagway River, and we are going out to the woods. Now, Alaska's got a lot of woods. A big percentage of it is forest. People travel by boat and air from city to city, of course. It's gorgeous. It's got a lot of interesting places. We were, of course, on the bus at this stage. Driver was very professional and kind, very informative. He was actually a geologist, a student geologist. We stopped, went outside for a while, and I noticed that he was really making sure that passengers were absolutely safe, which I was rather impressed by. One of the things I noticed is the fact that the mountains here are pretty tall, and I really enjoyed that. So what happened here? Well, you know what? The glacier went through and got rid of the topsoil, but it's returning. Now, this particular area almost seems like it's in perpetual winter. A lot of snow, a lot of ice, definitely cold, a lot of evergreen trees, a lot of stones, ice. But look around here. Evergreens, ice, and a lot of rock. Very beautiful. Oh, at this point, we passed the Canadian border. They were very professional, gave them our passports, and basically just saw us through. I really love this mountain. Look at it. It's huge. You know, now you might think at this point that the trip was rocky. It really didn't feel like that on the inside. I felt pretty comfortable. Now, I didn't spend a lot of time outside looking around. Oh yes, of course there was the tunnel, and I enjoyed going through there a great deal. Now, as we're passing through this area, there was a broken bridge. However, we're pretty safe. We didn't go into there. And one of the things I noticed here is the fact that there's a lot of cliffs and mountains, but we felt very safe on the train, felt very secure when we're taking the trip. And there were a lot of people taking pictures and etc. These couple of gentlemen. I wonder if anyone has dropped their phone and then jumped off the train to grab their phone. I hope not, but just look around here. These mountains are huge. The cliffs are deep. And I think about this time, we're almost to the point where they had a graveyard for pioneers. That was kind of interesting sounding. But they had, for instance, aside from cliffs and mountains, they had one of the things I was wondering if we'd seen any animals. Now you figured the animals would be used to it by now. We took a trip in the interior of the train as well. Very nice, bathroom's nice. So at this point, there was a lot more cliffs you can see. I was wondering about, maybe the animals weren't used to the train, but we didn't see any. Now, this point, it seemed like the mountains were even bigger and more spectacular. Now, they basically were trying to build the train track, and they thought at first it was impossible. But it turns out they were able to make this particular train in 1900, and they did a great job. I think it was basically the same time they're doing Panama Canal too, but it was a lot more successful here. We passed by a creek. It made me wonder what kind of fishing occurred there. And at this point, there was a double track, which made me believe we're getting closer to the village. So also I noticed too that people were spending more time inside of the cabin of the train. So we were getting more and more closer to the village. So there was little signs that the trip was going to end shortly. Also the fact that this particular, see right there, that's when they do the switching of the rails. At this point, I was really enjoying myself. I wasn't thinking about anything other than looking out of the window and enjoying myself. It was really gorgeous. Oh, you know what? I like this particular part of it because it's between the two train tracks, and then we ran into another creek. The funny thing is that it's really shallow. I think I could walk across this easily, and that looks like granite there too, which means a lot of times it means there's gold in that area. So we're passing by even closer to the village, which I'm really enjoying myself, and I'm really looking forward to panning for gold. So we're back to civilization. Of course, there's the train yards, which some of the train cabooses, etc., were kind of interesting. I thought they were. Passing by the Skagway River one more time. As we get to Alaska 360, we turn in. It looks pretty popular, actually. There was a few buses there, and each bus had at least 20 people. So at this point, there'd be about 80 people. But the good thing is, it was so big that it did not feel crowded at all. We had a wonderful lunch. It was actually, it tasted better than it looks in this picture, which I kind of liked.
Back in time and got you all a relic from the distant past. These film canisters. Yeah, soak it up. These are harder to find than gold nowadays. I had to sit outside of a Walgreens with a bucket and a dream for 9 years, but I got these for you, don't you worry. And they're going to be sitting in the table right next to where you're panning. You then dry your fingers off. You can use your clothes if you're friendly mine, or we got towels down there for you. You take your dry finger, you press it down onto the gold, should stick right to it. And then you take the poke, you tap the gold in. You want to make sure to tap it, not scrape it, otherwise the gold will fling off of your finger over the poke, over the water, back up into the mountains and out of your life. So just be sure to tap it. And then you go back, you get some more, you continue until all of your gold has been moved over, then close this so you hear the click. If you don't hear that click, the gold cannot and will not develop right. So be certain you'd hear it. All right. And then you can shake it, you can listen to your gold rattling around, then head up and around to our assayer's office in City Hall. They're going to weigh your gold, tell you what it's worth, and how you can display it if you'd like to make it more beautiful. But the most important part is whatever gold you find in those pans down there, you're going to be able to take it home with you. Keep it. Sound good? Yeah. All right. Thank you. Well, then before you go, I got one last thing to give you, and that's just a little bit of my heart. So, you got a scalpel? No? It's okay, I'll just tell you how I'm feeling then. I live and work in one of the most beautiful places on the planet, and even when the weather's like this, it's still quite amazing.
Here I am. This gentleman was teaching me how to pan for gold. I was probably a little bit too cautious at this stage, but I wanted to do it right. I definitely was enjoying at this point. It's kind of interesting. They have a certain way you have to do it. You have to kind of flick it. But the good thing is I believe that gold is 19 times more heavy than other stones. That's why it stinks to the bottom of the pan. And I do believe I found 5 or 6 flakes of gold. Brought over here, and I got an estimate on it. And by the way, they had some really good cookies and everything that were just out of the oven. So it was very enjoyable. This is a sluice dredge, I believe, which they do utilize to get the gold. Then we're back to Skagway. The good thing about that, it was kind of a rainy day and there was a lot to see. Probably would appreciate it more if it was a little drier. There was a lot of interesting stores in business. If I would do that again, I definitely would probably stop by a lot more places. This interesting building is the museum. Very interesting. The staff was very helpful. The outdoor display was pretty interesting. I do have a definite interest in the gold rush, so that this particular display was very informative, and I enjoyed it a great deal. This is what I think is very interesting. That is a snowplow for trains. This is the track it goes on. But the funny thing is that I didn't know trains needed a snowplow, but this huge machine clears snow from train tracks. Now we're going through the village of Skagway, and right here is a park. And there were different municipal facilities as we passed through. You know, the funny thing is that ship is huge. Even from afar, it looks huge. And we're getting closer and closer to it. At this point, it feels like I'm returning home. And so we had a wonderful dinner in the dining room. And by the way, this is the Ruby Princess Bridge. I didn't know we could see inside of it. This is our last opportunity to see the cruise port at Skagway. This is where they had a landslide, by the way. Now, Skagway was very interesting. Between the train trip and the panning of gold and the downtown Skagway, it was very interesting. And I would definitely do that again, if only to enjoy the downtown and check out the different stores. It's very walkable. And that's a big selling point for me because I enjoy walking a great deal. So this is our last point. We're going to go to our room and relax for a little bit. Here we are at Glacier Bay, and they have a limited number of ships that can go there. So, you know, you do have to have good plans ahead, I guess. They do a good job of the cruise lines with that. We didn't see any whales. We saw a lot of birds. And I think, 100% sure, might have seen a couple of dolphins, but I could be wrong. What's really amazing about this area is that it's a lot of brown and tan and beige, but there's so many variations on those colors. And I've seen so many pictures of this area, but it looks so different close up. Of course, I love the glaciers with the white and aqua color. Very interesting. So if you have the money, please do the helicopter trip. Be very worth your investment. Now, the passengers were very respectful. And what I would say is if you do go there, you know, dress warmly, have binoculars, and take your time. Don't be in a rush. That's one thing I actually think I did pretty good. Patiently take a look, and it pays off. Now, you're going to see a little bit in this picture, but it is not the same as being there. So Glacier Bay was very interesting. A lot of information. They have these lecturers Definitely worth your time to do that, and just listen and enjoy the ship. Go aboard, take a look around, and just enjoy yourself. It's totally worth it. So take your time, dress appropriately, and take a look around. The mountains are huge and spectacular. I know I like to use that word. I could also say majestic. That particular one is water going down. Make sure you're rested so you can appreciate the particular moment of spectacular beauty. And last view of a glacier.